This Friday, meaning just a couple days ago, right before Shabbat, I hopped over to Jeremy's house to do, all the time. I just go there all the time. I always find an excuse to go there. He finds an excuse to talk to me until one of our wives get mad at us that we should be helping and doing more things. And so my daughter Dvash was playing with her best friend and role model, Jeremy's youngest daughter, Chen. But I had to pull her away and leave because I knew that Shayna needed my help the last few hours before Shabbat. Those are the most chaotic of the week, and if there's strife in a Jewish home, very often those are the hours when it shows up. And so I sat down with my kids, and they agreed to take a bath only after I read them a book. So right as I was launching in, my phone rings, and it was Eden, Jeremy's 14-year-old daughter, calling me, and I picked up, and she was screaming in sheer panic and terror. I didn't need to hear anything more than that. I sprinted out of the house. I pulled out my gun. I chambered around. I'm charging towards Jeremy's house, thinking that they were being attacked. And as I'm approaching the front door, Tehila came out, looking way too relaxed for that to be happening. So I realized that the whatever crisis is happening must be happening somewhere else. And I had a faint recollection that Jeremy said, that they were taking out the horses for a ride, which they often do before Shabbat. So I screamed to Tehila. I said, "Get in the car," which she did. She got in the car. She said, "Call the emergency number." I think at that point we could already hear Eden screams in the distance. That's true. And so knowing that she was on her way, I called the emergency numbers. I told them to send out everything they had. I just knew something very real was happening. I still didn't definitively know what we were dealing with yet. I ran back to the house, grabbed my M16, the keys to the car, and jumped in, drove on the main road to the nearby village. And on the way there, I came upon Tehila, and she was on her knees in front of Jeremy, who was lying on the ground, and appeared she was giving him some sort of chest compressions. That's what it appeared to me. And I jumped out of the car and saw Eden in hysterical tears with blood all over his shirt. And I ran over, lunged forward to see Jeremy. And I'm not going to sanitize this for you. I thought he was dead. His face was white. His eyes were rolled back. His head was on the side was cut open, and there was lots of blood. And his eyes were fluttering. I started slapping him in the face, trying to wake him up. And then he sort of came to and then gone. And that was an unbelievable moment. And the ambulance showed up shortly thereafter. It seemed like forever. And then I took Eden away to get the other kids. Tehila ran out of the house, panicked, and they saw that they must have been panicking and not knowing what's going on. So I was just trying to stay calm and collected and strong for his children. Although at the time, the very foundations of my world were on fire. And we got to the house, and the kids had barricaded themselves in the safe room with all the doors locked. And they were screaming, their brains out, screaming and weeping and crying. I couldn't get in any of the doors I was about to break through. Eden ended up getting in a different way and pulled them out. And yeah, it was a lot. I brought them into the house, and I lied to their faces. I don't like to ever lie, but I felt like it was the right thing to do in that moment. I told them, I was like, "Your Abba's going to be okay," even though in my heart he may be dead at the moment, at the time that I'm saying this. I said, "He may have a broken arm, but we'll have to wait and see." I thought that would calm them down, but they panicked. "What, a broken arm? Oh my God, he have a broken arm." Anyways, Eden was unbelievable. The 14-year-old girl that was just there, seeing what she thought was her father dying right before her, she was able to collect herself for the sake of her little siblings. And the girl is 14 years old. And she was so strong. She was stronger than I was at that time. It really felt like that. I'll just never forget that. And so I brought them to my house, and then I hightailed it back over to see a team of doctors and medics and first responders. And they were all crowded around him. And I heard one of them say that the helicopter would be landing in 3 minutes, and they called the most elite rescue team in the IDF called Sheshesh Tesha, 669. Apparently they determined, that every moment counts here, and they needed to airlift him. I mean, the whole thing was so surreal, and I was praying with all of my heart. I mean, all of my heart. And the helicopter landed, and they didn't know what they were landing. They set up a safe perimeter, and the soldiers jumped out. And the doctors were grilling Eden about what happened to know what they were dealing with. She explained that her and Jeremy were on the two horses. Jeremy was on Hector, the big horse. and the relatively new baby horse jumped in front of Hector, the horse that Jeremy was on, causing Hector to fly forward. Tehila's here in the room with me. If I have any of this wrong, she'll hopefully correct it. But Hector flew forward and fell forward onto the side, slamming Jeremy onto the rocks and falling on top of Jeremy. And I'm just telling you, by natural law, he should act. He should be dead right now. And it would have been the worst Shabbat of my life, and I was bracing for that. Had I not heard from Tehila, who flew in the helicopter with Jeremy to the hospital, she called before Shabbat. She said he's conscious. She said, "Say hi, Ari," and he said, "Hi, Ari." Oh my God! Of course, the minute I heard his voice, I burst out in tears. Anyways, we spent Shabbat on the farm. We didn't know what was going on with him, what was going on with them. Jeremy's parents and his kids and his brother and his nephew and their guests, all the guests that they were going to have for Shabbat were at our table for the meals, which was wonderful. Really, really wonderful that we were able to be there for each other and with each other. And it was a Shabbat filled with prayers and hope and healing and a lot of tears, a lot of gratitude. I tried to keep focusing on just how grateful. I said this week is the week of Parshat Kedoshim, and every year I'm pronouncing that this is the Jeremy Gimpel's life celebration. Anyways, unbelievably, they released him from the hospital after Shabbat, which I was quite distressed about. Because when I saw him, it was clear to me that he should be in the hospital. What do I know? I don't know anything. But it certainly felt to me that he should have been there for at least a few more days of observation. He's even better now, but his memory is still spotty. He can barely walk, and he has only moments here and there of being awake, but it was absolute miracles. Anyways,